Well, it is time to know what is on the front pages of the Nigerian newspapers. Public affairs analyst Olade Diario and broadcast journalist Funke Treasure are here in the studio. Compliments of the season. Good morning.
Good morning.
Looking
Sorry,
bright and beautiful.
You didn't see my Christmas chicken. It ran away.
You didn't cage it properly,
I was
perhaps.
careless.
Right. We would look for it. Well, the new year is at the corner, though.
So what's going to happen to exactly
New Year is at the corner?
Buy another one.
All right, let's head straight to the papers now. And we begin with the blueprint. Fake COVID-19 certificates on sale as UN warns on next pandemic. Lagos plans 10 oxygen sampling centers. US-based Nigerians adjust lifestyle during Christmas. All right, to the front page of the Punch newspaper, COVID-19 second wave. Federal government National Assembly consider UK-US flights ban next week. Lawmakers consider holding meetings, considering all options, say Senate committee chair. Fresh ban can hurt economy, stakeholders. Lagos goes after fake COVID-19 certificate sellers. We'll be looking at that story shortly. All right, to the front page of the Vanguard now. Fake COVID-19 test results on sale. Lagos State government raises an alarm. 236,212 tested so far. Sets up 10 oxygen centers in high-budding local government areas. NMA decries sensationalism attached to death of 20 doctors. 30 million Nigerians affected as learning poverty rate rises to 63% in Nigeria, others due to COVID-19, says World Bank. And on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct now, anti-Buhari comment, Catholic Church Arewa, Tiv youth in war of words. Tiv Arewa youth call for Kuka's prosecution. All right. On the front page of the Daily Sun, still talking about Kuka's comment, furore over Kuka's Christmas bombshell. Can northern groups fight over message? Will take the praise to ICC group. All right. On the Nation newspaper now, still talking Kuka's comment there. Kuka's attack on Buhari draws more flack, backing. Arewa Youth Coalition lash cleric, Southern Middle Belt leaders, Bishop give support. To the front page of the Daily Independent, Lagos ports congestion, bribery, storage costs worsening importers' woes. Right, and to the front page of the Business Day now, acute forex scarcity, empty consumer wallet hurt manufacturers in 2020. And finally, not finally yet, to the Daily Trust now, 72 hours to end of year, Buhari yet to assent to 2021 budget. January to December cycle threatened. We are studying document presidency. And finally, on the front page of the Leadership newspaper, Kakakinupe Chairman Leadership Group Sam Nda Isaiah laid to rest after days of stirring tributes from. And that's how the paper reacts to the death of Sam Nda Isaiah. All right, let's go to the front page of the Punch newspaper now, talking about the federal government and National Assembly considering UK-US flights banned next week, perhaps due to the new strain of the COVID-19. A lot of Nigerians have been saying that government should have done this long before now, since the new strain.
She was very vehement last Tuesday.
Right.
Calling for, the ban, going to immediately effect the ban. If you remember the origin of COVID-19 in Nigeria,
right,
it was the same carelessness that allowed the Italian, to come into Nigeria, and then we are where we are today. I don't understand who is that person that is out there that was coming before we could close the airports.
But they are saying that perhaps they are considering how it will hurt the economy, because we saw the first lockdown we had, the ban on flights and all of it, and how it hits the aviation sector economically. A lot of people losing their job, perhaps. That's what some people are saying.
You know what, Veronica? Everything rises and falls on leadership.
Very true.
Right? So we've had this case of the Italian in the past. Other nations, as of Tuesday last week, 40 nations had closed their borders with the UK and South Africa. a week after. Nigeria, that seems to copy everything the UK and the US does, is still
thinking.
Yet
considering.
Yes, considering. And then they're saying next week. And then all the passengers from these other nations are already in Nigeria with the strain, new strain of the COVID. And then we have a fake,
considering the
COVID
challenges,
vaccine certificates issue. So what are we talking about? You're just stressing the people and you're shirking your responsibilities. You're supposed to man the border, ensure that this thing does not cross over and, devastate the people. You're not doing that. You've opened the borders. You're grappling with fake COVID certificates.
Right.
So what are we supposed to do?
Shut
and there's a presidential task force that breathes down our backs every day. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't make sense. You go to the UCH, from what we've heard, no generator, nothing to treat the people. Oh. The cases of malaria are on the increase in this place, and this is how COVID
to address this.
Yeah. Yes. So this is not about the people. This is about the leadership, and especially that the presidential task force on COVID is not pulling its weight at all this time around. Nigeria will not be the only nation that's witnessing the second wave. So you can't say you don't want to hurt the economy. Close the borders. Close the borders.
Right. So it's not only the aviation industry that badly have everybody, both individual and corporate, states, and all levels. We've all been negatively affected.
The number of deaths we have recorded in the past already.
The thing is this. Most of the people that are coming into Nigeria, they are elites.
Right.
In that class.
Precisely.
There was a party in Lagos that is already causing a lot of waves.
Yes.
People attended the parties, and
a lot of people.
Some of them have died. Some of them have been confirmed positive. Some are symptomatic. Some are asymptomatic. Now, with all of this and the allowed inflow of human traffic, how serious are we about containing the spread? Don't forget that people are still going about trying to get registered for national identification number. Again, when you bring all of these things together, you just ask yourself, why do we have so much confusion at the highest level of government? Because that they now have to say, okay, this thing is a 17th February against 31st December, show that initially thorough thinking was not done. But this is not the way to go. We can't be running government as if we are playing games. No, it doesn't work like that. Other smaller nations, they've closed their borders.
Angola has closed this border.
So why? Look at what's happening in South Africa. They've crossed the 1 million mark.
In one day.
In one day. It's scary. And Nigeria, and the peculiarities of this country, you leave the borders open, you're breathing down the back of the common people, but the elites are the ones, because common people can't afford tickets to the US.
Right.
Where are they going to get the visa?
Where are they going? They couldn't even leave Lagos for their hometowns.
Exactly.
They're talking of going abroad.
So this is about the elites,
I found very difficult to also deal with is the fact that, are we actually doing enough testing?
That's another question.
That's a big question.
Because when you look at the number of the population,
goes up and down, I remain
when you place it side by side, the number of those
highly unimpressed.
tested.
The first person that I knew personally who died from COVID-19 died in UCH.
Yeah.
He had a prostate issue, and then he was a retired medical doctor. He went to UCH, because he had colleagues there. He was successfully operated upon and moved to the ICU. That was where he came in touch with COVID-19, and he died there. The gentleman retired from Lagos State, after
I like the fact that Lagos State has opened 10 oxygen centers.
But that is not enough.
The same UCH now doesn't have generator.
Now, let's quickly get to the Funke. Now, you were talking about Lagos State having
10 oxygen centers.
Oxygen centers, but that some would say is not enough, because it seems we are focusing just on Lagos State. We have 36 states of the Federation.
Where in Imo State there was a party
parties here and there.
It was a party
refusing to
by
observe
the government.
People refusing to observe the protocols. Leadership. How are states? What do you see states doing, leading from the front to address this issue? Because there are several gaps that have to be bridged.
You know what I think and what I see is that it's the leadership of Nigeria fueling this cynical attitude of Nigerians to the handling and the treatment of COVID in Nigeria.
Really?
If you're saying do this, it's a do as I do,
exactly.
not do as I say. It is not that you now see random elites going positive, testing, just suddenly, and people just announce that this important person has COVID. Tested positive, this important person. Our people are skeptical. They're cynical. They don't believe it.
And that's why this is an illness for the elite.
For the rich.
Exactly.
You know, because you're telling them, do this, but you're doing something else.
Contrary to that.
You're telling us, you're shouting blue murder. No, this is the second wave, this, that. But you leave the borders open. Who are the people traveling? The elites. Even the middle class are thinning out in Nigeria. They can't afford to travel anymore. So you have to be really rich to travel at this time. The economy, individual economies, personal economies are in shambles. So you must be extra rich to be able to travel. So why are you protecting the elites and telling the masses to jump into the lake about COVID?
Yeah, well,
come on.
Let me say this. It's the basic reason why people keep saying
it's not real.
That is a scam. That governments are announcing figures to make money. I don't know how they came with that conjecture. But the point is, from all that we can see, like the part at Queen's Park, the party, right?
Yes.
It was an elite thing. The who is who were there. Okay? Another one happened in an estate nearby here. It was the same thing. Why, for God's sake, can't government at all levels say something, stand by it? That is leading from the front, from frontline leadership. And that way, people can say examples, but the examples we see are the ones where those regulations are being flouted. And serially, too.
Doesn't mean that we still do not understand what this is going to cost us in the future. Because if you look at the front page of the Vanguard newspaper this morning, it's talking about the fact that 30 million Nigerians affected as learning rate, poverty rate rises to 63%. What does that pose for the future?
Yeah, that's the reality that's staring. I think the figures may be even worse than that, because people are yet to recover from the lockdown, the first lockdown. We saw what happened with the palliatives. So people are agitated. They don't want a second lockdown. They don't want to be found looking for food to eat, because they already know the politicians don't have their best interests at heart.
Right.
Yes, they're going to keep the palliatives for their birthday next year.
Okay. You see, the problem is this. we still
she's really upset.
No, she is upset. We said it last Tuesday that if they even impose a lockdown, enforcement and compliance will be issues. The people, the bulk of the people, majority of the people here, they must go out daily to earn their living. So when they were locked in the last time, malaria, hypertension, diabetes killed more people than COVID-19.
Yes.
But because all attention was on COVID-19, we didn't get to know. And if you now say, okay, you want to do a lockdown, who will enforce it? The Nigerian people and their security agencies are trying to build a new congenial relationship. So, and I'm sure the security agency will not want to, go back after the people so soon after the NSAS crisis. So we really need to sit somewhere and do some deep thinking.
Now,
okay, that will be sustainable
to address all of the issues.
That will be in our interest, because if we imagine Bill Gates staying there, is wondering why Africa is still not terribly ravaged as they suggested, we expected.
Yes.
Now, are we waiting for that to happen, knowing that our healthcare facilities are nothing to write home about? We do not have
the capacity.
And look at the number of doctors who succumbed to COVID
20
the other time.
in just 1 week.
Can you imagine?
We lost 20 doctors.
So this is not a joke, but you see, another dimension that I'd like to draw attention to is that this same elite, you're attending parties and not observing COVID protocols. But you see, religion is the opium of the people. That's where their hope is. And then there's this debate about whether to do crossover service or not. Do you stay till 11 p.m.? Yeah. Or do you just stay there and wait till 4 a.m. and then you beat the government, what's it called? No restriction. Curfew. You know? So it's a so they can go there to their parties and we can go for our crossover.
But there is an agreement now. 11 p.m.
You see the point. The point is this. It is all about you. Because somebody in leadership is misbehaving. It's not a criteria for you to copy.
For the followership
it's
to do
not
the same.
Good for, I mean, if I don't understand, must we gather at a time that it is not auspicious? Can't we pray? Haven't we prayed in private places and got answers?
We have seen the number of persons
December
that have died.
31st and January 1st, they are just 2 different days.
Right.
1st of January is just another day. It's not a big deal, and that is the truth.
It is a big deal for a lot of persons.
Did we have plans to see on Christmas Day? Did you see me? Did I see you? Because we look at the situation and
now he's letting the cat out of the bag.
But it's true. Oh, please buy chicken. I'm coming to eat rice. Blah blah blah. When we woke up on that day, and it became impossible. I didn't even call her. Only a text. Oh, you won't see me again. No? And we've not seen until this morning. So if we can be that reasonable at individual levels, we had things to discuss, business and all of that, but we put them on hold. Why? I don't want to run her into trouble, and I won't want her pushing me into trouble too.
Absolutely.
So
the kernel of it is this is your individual responsibility to stay safe, to observe the COVID protocols, and to protect your elderly. If you have the elderly, this is not the time to take children to them. I mean, we've all been Zooming and using the other options. You don't look during the lockdown, and this is very critical. How did you survive without your religious leaders? And I'm talking about all the faiths now. And I said, this is what I said about 2020 because I started hearing and seeing some prophecies for 2021, like,
His business.
Look, you've come again. Nobody saw lockdown and COVID for 2020 was all beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Don't start 2021, right? Because what we've learned in 2020 is how to walk personally with your maker. It is about you and him because your pastor or your imam or your Ifa priest was not there during the lockdown. They were all fighting for their own survival. So it is not compulsory that you go for crossover. Do the crossover at home. Hear from your maker via Zoom, you know.
In any case,
but not everyone.
If you are wise enough to protect and preserve yourself, this will not be your last crossover.
Absolutely.
But if you are careless, and you go into mingling in the name of crossover, you might be crossing into heaven or hell. I mean, let's get it very straight. And I'm so impressed that as far back as last week, Professor Agudalo was emphatic that if the churches have to close, so be it. And I also heard that Oyedepo also said no crossover services in his ministry. So I mean, people should they should understand. Let's not take things out. We shouldn't take it. Common sense should be allowed. This is simple common sense.
Common sense is not common, like we always
say. We see people dropping dead. Look at what has happened. Ubong is gone.
That's it. I mean, Ubong is a personal friend.
Exactly. Those are the elites that we know. The visible people, the popular ones that we know.
Nigeria has
when we had that Chico Ejiro died, we couldn't visit the family. I had to be calling Zeb and all of that. You understand what I'm saying? I would have loved to visit Zeb, to express my sympathy, but I could not go.
You can't do that now.
All the friends that we connected with is on phone. We saw how they use Zoom for radio, for church services during the lockdown.
Not everyone has access to the internet.
No, but whatever you have, they use Facebook, they use IG, whatever you have access to, please use it. The church will always be there. Christianity is not going anywhere. No faith is going nowhere. COVID is not about our faith, it's about our life. I'm not going to play games with my life. in the name of attending any program or no.
No, I think
these are very key issues
for me.
Yes.
On a final note for me, I think it would be foolhardy for you to, having heard all of this and previous arguments and conversations about COVID and the virus and the vaccine, and the fact that the vaccine is still very far away from Nigeria, and then to expose yourself to the virus.
And there are controversies around it.
Your family, because once you get it, your family goes into quarantine, you expose them. So it's as they say, it's a chain reaction. You don't want to do that to your family. It will cost a lot of money. And you know Nigeria is still struggling with the health sector. There is no money being pumped into it. Even in the new budget, go look at the figures, the percentage, so you don't want to put yourself in that kind of, situation. How much is your salary? Even if you work in the private sector, you want to blow it on health? So think critically about it. That party can wait. That relative of yours, you will see in the next quarter.
It's important that people are listening to this.
On the 27th.
Right.
There wasn't any issue. She just simply went to church for Thanksgiving, orphanage, and then returned home, and that was it. Next year and very many more years, she can still celebrate her birthday. But the time in which we are, does not, he has not given us that opportunity. So people should just learn to fold it up and wait till when we're able to overcome the pandemic. Then they can then loosen up and start their Owambe lifestyle. For now, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. It's not about any government trying to undermine your faith or religion.
Responsibility.
No. And let me tell you, COVID-19 is not malaria. It's not your regular cold and catarrh and cough. When it hits you, it ravages you. I was also told now that when it hits men, they lose their virility. Maybe when they get to hear this, and when the men get to hear this, that they may suffer erectile dysfunction. Maybe they will check themselves.
All right.
How far it is true, I don't know.
So much has been said.
The issue of vaccination, let's not even go there. You are better.
There's lots of controversy around it.
It's better the best option. So prevent this thing from hitting you.
Right.
Don't even go there.
Right. It's important that people hear this again, that we rehash all of these issues for people to understand how far the impact can be on their lives.
Sorry,
if they refuse to take responsibility.
I'm sorry I'm breaking you.
Yes.
National Orientation Agency. They must do something. We've been saying this time in, time out.
You should give up on these people. They're not going to do anything.
It's a federal government agency being funded.
There is an extent to which they can go. Although, yes, but this is why you are here. Encouraging people to take responsibility.
1 year after Nigeria started its restrictions in March, this is December. What exactly has the National Orientation Agency done?
That's a big question.
It should fire the DG. Fire him. Right. And fire the governing
all the people
board.
working there should be replaced. Let's see action.
Fire the board.
They should be at the forefront, telling people what to do and what not to do, why they shouldn't do those things, and why they should obey the protocol and everything. It's unfortunate.
And collaborating with religious leaders as well.
People are now left at the mercy of the internet, reading up all sorts of...
And that is what is fueling the myths and misinformation.
That's what is fueling the myths.
Because when you make truth scarce and unavailable, rumor will thrive.
Right. All right. We'll leave it at this point. Oladeyinde Are of Funke Treasure, thank you so much for educating us this morning and reminding people why it is important for them to take responsibility.